Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, everyone, no matter, depending on when you're watching this. So today we're going to go over, once again, how to multiply a mixed number by a mixed number. So this is a little tricky, and we've done it before. We're going to use the distributive property to do this, and you'll see what I mean as we go through this lesson. So just in a little bit. Okay, so the problem that we're going to be doing is 1 2/3 taken 2 1/4 times. So I'm not just taking it 2 times, which you could do very easily. I'm taking it 2 1/4 times. So on my floor here, I have 1 whole and 2/3. I'm using my paper fraction pieces, which are available in the remote learning folder in the math section, so you can print them out for yourself. And they go all the way up to 20/4. So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to break up my multiplier, which is this 2 1/4. And there's a good reason for that, because it makes it easier for me to picture what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut out a few pieces of paper here to serve as parentheses, so you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to keep moving this down. You can still see it, I hope. And I am making some parentheses. So now I'm going to change this 2 1/4 to 2 plus. Terrible plus sign. Let's make that a little better. 2 plus 1/4. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by multiplying just part of this times my 1 2/3. Before I do anything, though, I'm going to record what I just did on the whiteboard so you can follow along. So I have 1 2/3 times 2 plus 1/4. There you go. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put aside my 1/4. So I'm going to just take this part times 2. And I have 1 2/3 here. And you know, if I take that 2 times, what am I going to have? I'm going to have 2 wholes and 2/3. Okay, so what I just did was the first part of my distributive property. I took 1 2/3 times 2 wholes. So 1 2/3 times 2. There you go. But now I still need to worry about this 1/4. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to swap out this 2. And now I'm going to multiply 1 2/3 times 1/4. So if I take, I'm also going to look at 1 2/3 in 2 pieces. If I take 1/4 of 1 whole, I get 1/4. So again, you know how to do this. So this is 1/4 of 1 whole. And now I want to take 1/4 of each one of my thirds. So if you watched my last lesson, you know that if I take a third and I break it into 4 pieces, I get 4/12. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to break my thirds into 4 pieces. So there's, and this is just for exploration for now, there's a third. So if I take 1/4 of each one of those thirds, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 1/12, because that's going to be 1/4 of each third. So if I'm taking 1/4 of one whole, I get 1/4, and then I'm also going to take 1/4 of each third. Okay, so you're getting the sense that there's a lot of breaking down to do, but I have now taken 2 wholes, 1 whole and 2 wholes of 1 2/3, and I've taken 1/4 of 1 2/3. So now I need to add those 2 together. So I'm going to figure out what I've got here. So I have, let's see, 1 2/3 times 1/4. So now I have all the pieces I need to see what I'm going to end up with. So I'm going to go through this, and I see that when I have 1 2/3, I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. So 1 2/3 taken 2 times gets me 2 wholes. I can simplify my 4/3. So I actually have 3 wholes right here. So I have 3 wholes, and then I have that 1/3. So I have 3 wholes and 1/3. I'm just going to simplify as I go. It'll make it a little easier to see when I add everything together. And over here, I have 1/4 and 2/12. Let's see. 1/4 and 2/12. Does that look like anything? So I'm going to check and see. Nope. So 1/4 and 2/12. But I'm looking at this 1/4 and 2/12, and I'm seeing that 2/12 is not in its simplest form. Oops, 1/4 and 2/12. I'm sorry, I wrote that down wrong. So 1/4 plus 2/12. And actually, what I'm going to do here is just turn everything into 12s, because I don't think there is an equivalent right here. So I'm going to add my 1/4. And again, I have explored this because I have 12ths now. So this 1/4 I know is 3/12. I will put that down there so you can actually see it. Okay, that's 5/12. That's not going to be all that helpful to me, actually. Here we go, 5/12. Yeah, not helpful. All right, so, but we're going to change that. And I also know that I can change my 1/3 left over here into 12s. So, and we did that earlier. 1/3 is 4/12. 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So what I really have is 3 and 4/12 plus 5/12. see where this is headed. So I still have my 3 wholes, that's easy. Now I need to add all of my 12ths together. And I'm going to take away my 4ths and my 3rd because now I have a bunch of 12ths. All right, and when I add all of my 12ths together, we are going to end up with it's a lot of 12ths. But I also know that 4 plus 5 is 9, so I know I have 9 12ths. I also know that's not in its simplest form because there is a common factor of 9 and 12. So, and that common factor is 3. So I'm going to make groups of 3 out of my 12ths here. Here we go. And so I have 3 groups of 3 12ths, and those look really familiar, and they are because 3 12ths is 1/4. There we go. So 3 and 4 12ths plus 5 12ths. I'm going to write it down a little more easily. So we have 3 and 4 12ths plus 9 12ths equals plus 5 12ths plus 5 12ths equals 3 and 9 12ths. That's what we started with when I simplified all of the products of my multiplication. And then I simplified that again, and I have 3 and 3/4 as my final product. So take some breaking down, but it's really quite easy to do in your head. And we're going to learn another way of multiplying fractions next week, or multiplying mixed numbers. But this is actually easier for problems like this, because once you've got the math down, it's pretty simple to break it down like that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you for joining me for a lesson on multiplying a mixed number by a mixed number using the distributive property.